Hey guys, this next video I'm going to go through how to do a very quick but good looking paint job on it. This is a guy that we literally just assembled. He is dry and he's ready for some primer. So let's go do that. Alright, so these are the primers that I like to use. They're um, less than half the cost of Games Workshop's primers. They are automotive. What I like about them is they're made for metal. You can use them on plastics, woods, anything. They have a ultra fine mist nozzle because they're made for auto body. And so they don't cake the paint on real thick. They do a very fine mist, and you're going to want to do a couple thin coats of each. You can see here I'm using white primer and a black hot rod. What you're going to want to do first is paint your mini with the black hot rod completely all over. Turn them upside down, make sure you get all the little voids. And let me do that real quick and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, you guys can see here he is fully black now. And you can see that I wear latex gloves when I do this step because you're going to turn them all around, and it's kind of impossible to do if he's just sitting on a table or something like that and you're trying to paint him in a cardboard box or things like that. So I enjoy not having spray paint all over my fingers, so I use latex paint. So the next step will be to use the white primer on him once he's nice and dry. And here's a little trick. I use a small space heater on the top of my shop desk here, so that the second I get done priming one of them, I stick it in front of that little heater and can move on to the next ones. And literally by the time I'm done with like a batch of 6 of these guys, the first one that I put in front of that heater is already completely dry, and I can start doing the white step next. The white primer you're going to hold at a 45-degree angle, and you're going to kind of be back just a little bit from them because you don't want it to be a massive blast of white. You're wanting to kind of dust it over the top, and then where you think the light is hitting him, you're going to want to hit it a little harder on that side. So I would show that step, but I don't want spray paint all over my camera. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Okay, hopefully when you're done with the white, it should look something like this. Again, you can see he is not white, but he has a nice light layer over him. And the reason you do it at the 45-degree angle is you can see there's still black paint showing under every single piece of armor and everything. And that gives them all those cool shadows. One, that helps you when you're painting determine what's what. And two, if you're going to use things like contrast paints and speed paints, it enhances that effect like 100-fold. So we'll go next up to the paint desk, and I'll show you how to knock out a really cool paint job on him super fast. Okay, let's paint a mini. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did pull out the paints I want to use, but I have not planned any of this, so I'm winging it because this is usually how I paint. If I try to plan something, I usually don't stick to that plan anyway. But as you can see, here's the one from the factory, and literally, there's nothing there. There's nothing bringing out the armor or anything like that. It's just a gray with a little bit of a dusting down here at the bottom. And mine's still apart from making the mold, but you can see just a gray shield with that. Now I'm going to do a better job on this. I'm going to do it as quickly as I can just to show you guys how, if you're really moving your brush, what you can accomplish. So I'm going to start, and I'll show you guys the paints as I'm going. This will mostly be contrast paints because I know a lot of you guys have access to that. I'll say this. Army Painter's new speed paints, the 2.0 series that's coming out, you're going to want to grab those. The color shades are, there's just so many more shades of different colors. It's a great set. I have the 1.0 set. It had a little bit of an activation problem with it. Still a great set. I use it all the time. It's kind of interesting if you use the activation for different things, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. So we're going to start with Basilicum Gray. Okay. I'm going to pop the top on that guy. And we're going to try not to spill a pot of paint in this video. So I'm just going to load my, I kind of got a thicker brush here, because again, we're just going to kind of glob it on there. We're not going to be too worried. And this pot of basilicum gray is just about done. It's at the very end where it's kind of mucusy, if you will. I'm not going to go up the blade, because see how it's kind of lighter on the blade there, the effect they got on the plastic. I'm going to go kind of right to where the detail is right there. You can see I'm not like, I'm kind of dancing it around. Now on the edge of the blade here, it is dark. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit there on each side. Oh, let's see. Let's go ahead and do the shield. Hopefully I have enough basilicum gray to make it through this video. Let's give it another shake here. All right, and you can kind of see I'm not doing anything special here. I'm literally just kind of globbing it on. You don't want to have big runs of paint or anything like that. So, and if this video is going in and out of focus, again, I apologize. See if I can get it to where, okay. There, that's kind of mostly in focus there. So we're just going to kind of put it there. I'm not going to put it on the horns yet. We're just kind of focused on the body right now. Working it around. There. Now on the tips of his horns, you can see, and I'm going to have to get a better setup for focusing. You can see the tips of his horns are like black. So this is not a black, but we're going to go ahead and darken them a little bit with this. So we're just going to go like that. Now, some of y'all might go, okay, he's looking pretty cool just like this. I'd be good with that. And sure, yeah, go with that. That's what these paints were made for, just to go quick and get it on the table. So I've just kind of danced it around a little bit. You can kind of see my brush is just, I'm just dancing it because I don't want blobs. And you can kind of control, if you see it pooling in an area, just put your brush back in that area. But you have a little bit of time to play with it, but then it gets to a point where it's starting to dry, and if you touch it, it does things you're not going to like. It tries to pull the whole layer back off. So he's at a point where I'm happy. And again, you can see I'm constantly rotating around because you never know when there's a little spot that you missed, especially with this kind of armor. There's a lot going on. I think my problem is these stickers in the background, huh? I feel like it's taking away from it. Let me see if I can adjust my camera. Let's do that. Yeah, that might be better going forward. Okay, let's do that. All right, so painter's trick. What I'm going to do right now, because I don't like to sit around and literally watch paint dry, I have a hair dryer that I keep at my painting station here. So I'm going to pause the video, give him the best blow dry he's ever had, and we'll go to the next step. All right, he has been blow dried for all of 1 minute. Now the good thing about metal miniatures is that you can really heat them up and bake that paint on there. I will say a caution: if you're going to do a hair dryer on a plastic or a resin printed mini, you need to be very careful not to heat that thing up too much, or you will melt it. You'll have slumping everything on it, and it'll look like Silence of the Lambs. I'll also caution you about using the space heater when you're priming. I do it for plastic miniatures, but I keep them kind of further away from it, and I make sure they don't get too hot. I'm moving them pretty constantly. The metal ones, again, this metal doesn't melt until it gets to about 600 degrees. You are not going to do that with a hair dryer, I can assure you. So these guys are good. All right, next step, what do we want to do here? And again, like I said, there's a good amount of winging it going on, but I've been doing this for a little while. So, tell you what, let's do, we're going to do some skeleton horde. Okay. And again, these are some old bottles. So the thing that everyone hates about Games Workshop is their stupid pots. And they develop this ring of wasted paint that they won't close right anymore. And I'm too lazy to clean it out of there because I just don't care. I'm actually going to put that on the blade right there, like that. I'll do a little on the bottom. And then we'll do a little bit on his horns. You're going to go, that's not how it looked from the factory. I'm going to go, that's correct. Because I'm kind of doing my own thing here. But it's going to look cool when we're done, I promise you. Okay, so it's got a little, I'm just going to dance that in there a little bit. You can, a lot of the effects that we do going forward on this guy are going to be sort of dry brushing. So, got that on. Give me 2 seconds to hair dry. Okay, hair drying's done. Again, some of you might be like, well, that looks cool enough for me. I'll just table that. That's great. I would go one step further, though. What we're going to do next is we're going to do a little dry brush on him. I love this color. It's one of my favorite colors. Filthy Cape by Army Painter. And I always cut any color that I'm trying to make lighter, not with white, because it does not give a pleasing color. I love to do either desert sand or my other favorite color, which is bleached linen. Okay, neither of these are a solid white. They're kind of creamier, and they just produce a better effect on the mini. You don't want to use bright whites on a mini. It never looks good unless you're doing like a superhero. So I have just a junk tray here. I think this had like some tufts in it or something. So I'm not one of those fancy painters that has 28 cameras for you guys to show you how I do this in every video angle. So we're going to do it all here together. And you don't even need anywhere near that amount of paint right there. But just to show you guys, I'm going to drag a little bit of this right there. And you can see the brush I'm using right now because we're going to dry brush. I go to Ross, or you can go to Marshall's, to the makeup aisle, and they have big sets of makeup brushes for like $4. And you can get 6, 8 brushes for $4. And it's just the best deal, because if you go get like an Army Painter paintbrush or Games Workshop paintbrush, it's the same thing. In fact, I actually think the makeup brushes are better. This has been through a lot with me, by the way. But what we're going to do is get most of the paint back off the paintbrush. A lot of it off. There's hardly anything on there. And what we're going to do is just a tiny dusting on him now to see how much is left on. Man, I wish we could get a better focus on this thing. All right. I'm going to go straight down with it. That's perfect. Okay. So what that's doing, there we go. You see what that did? That brought out every detail on that shield gorgeously. Now, this is the step I want you guys to make it to. You can do some contrast and then some dry brushing. And this dry brushing is only working this way because I took most of the paint off. Otherwise, you're just going to be putting a really weird layer of paint on it that's too thick but not quite an actual paint layer. And try not to hit your camera while you're filming. I realize it's a little blurry right now for you guys, so I'm going to get it in focus here in just a second. There's also about 1 million other, sorry, I keep hitting the camera, videos on how to do this that are wildly better than mine, but this one obviously is specific to the model that you guys are wanting to paint, or at least one of them. Just getting a little more paint on my brush. I'm going to hit it a little heavier in a couple areas. Golly, I need to get a better setup so I'm not hitting my camera. All right, I also need to learn to paint where you guys can see what I'm doing. All things that are helpful to you. I'm primarily just going in one direction too. I go down. If you go up, you take the shadow out. All right, so let's look at where I'm at. Now this is a level that any of you guys can get it to really quick. And he looks great. He looks great. Everything pops, good shadows. Okay, but let's go a little bit further. And again, if I was painting these guys for me, I'd have all 4 of them ready to go. And I'd contrast paint one, I'd move the next, and move the next, and that way they're all just kind of drying while the other ones are going. That's called batch painting. All right, we're going to do this guy next. That'll give us a little bit of that kind of green effect. Okay, but it'll be not just this super metallic-y looking green like what's currently on it. It'll be a little bit more sophisticated. I keep a large assortment of paintbrushes next to me all the time, so I'm trying to figure out which one I want to do for this. Again, you're watching me paint live as I would paint in real life. I wonder if I keep my hand back there, if that's going to keep it in focus better. Yeah, it is. Look at that. All right. So I'm coming straight from the pot, and I'm just going to go right there. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? I love this paint. It's got a cool effect to it. So what we want it to look like is kind of like it's tarnished metal, but it also has a little bit of mysterious things going on. Some magic or something. Okay, so we got that on the shield, and you're going to go, well, that's way more than what's on the other one. Just hold on a minute. All right, we're going to go on his face right there. Boom. Look how fast that is, okay? All right. It's looking great. All right, we're going to do a little dab on the sword here. Put it kind of right in there, down the middle. A little bit there. I realize I'm still not in focus. This is killing me. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with me. I'm going to do another video. It'll be better than this one, but just wanted to show you guys the speed you could go at if you wanted to. All right, I'm going to wash my brush. So if it was in that focus the whole time, you guys would love me. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Okay. It's a little heavier than what you want it to be, but just trust me on that. Okay. I'm going to hair dry it now. There. I wanted to take you guys live through my hairdryer process just to show you how fast that goes with the hairdryer. So he's dry now. Next, we're going to grab some Nolan oil. This stuff's great. For you guys that liked what I showed just in the raw metal version, this is all I did. I just put Nolan oil on it. Called it a day because it photographs better for metal miniatures. Alright, so we're going to get a little bit, again, I'm kind of going to a bigger brush again. I'm going to kind of just dance this around the shield about like that. Look at that. Okay, and then we're going to come up here. I'm going to grab that on his face. Looks good. I'm actually going to do a little bit right up here as well. We're going to come around to the sword. Okay. I'm going to kind of feather in just a little bit that darker color. All right, so here's where we're at now. All right, I'm going to pause it so you guys don't have to hear my hair dryer again, but I just wanted y'all to see how quickly I do it. Okay, that layer's dry. As you can see, we're approaching something pretty cool here. Now, I'll say this is not going to win any painting contests, but again, for you guys that are just wanting something similar, you can see this looks a little cooler. It's a little more painterly. Okay, we're going to go to the next step though. So Toxic Mist, Army Painter. We're going to do a very, very, very light dry brush with this. Okay. Just put a little tiny dab here. We're going to grab a different dry brush because the other one is wet. We do not want to use a wet dry brush. It will just smear everything. Going to work it into the bristles. Taking it over to my paper towel. Okay, now focus. And we're just going to dust this very, very lightly on that face. Look at that. On his helmet, just a little dusting to pick up the highlights on that. We're going to come over to the sword. Pretty cool. And then I'm going to just add a little stripe kind of down his back like that a little bit, just to add a little bit of color back here. It's kind of cool. Okay. All right, now the factory one has a little bit of dust at the bottom, so let's add a little bit of dust. I'm going to wash out that dry brush and get a different one, and that's why I say to go get you a pack of makeup brushes so you can have lots of them, because the way I paint, I use a lot of dry brushing. Okay, we're going to go to Vallejo Flat Earth. Again, you don't have to use these exact colors. Whatever paint you like to use or whatever you can find near you, just a similar color would be fine. And I'm just grabbing colors that I think would look right. I'm not doing anything in a specific manner. This is just how I paint. So I've got a little on my brush here. I'm just going to kind of dust the bottom. See that little bit of brown it's picking up down there now? He's been walking some dirty lands. Rotate him around, get a little on the shield there, kind of work it up the shield a little bit because he's been going through some nasty roads. Okay, and you can see how many times I'm going back and forth to get the effect. That's how little paint I have on my paintbrush. I'm gonna do a little on the back of the blade here, just to add a little variation. And then I'm actually going to take a little bit of this brown right here and just do a little kind of bit on the horns there. I know, I'm crazy. All right, I'm going to wash that brush out. Happy with that. And again, at any point during this, you could say, that's good enough for me. Stop the video and keep going with the rest of your miniatures. I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to mix up a little bit even lighter gray. Just a small dab, and it's starting to dry on me over here. Let me get a little bit more of my bleached linen. You're going to notice I say the word y'all a lot. I'm down here in Texas, so well, that's what we do. It's our word. I don't care what the people from Louisiana or Alabama say. Y'all is ours. Okay, just to create a little more highlights in some areas, because I like it to pop. I got this lighter gray. I'm just going to right at the tips, maybe on his nose. Just going to kind of on the edge of the blade, I'm going to work it up like that. Anywhere that light's going to hit, the very tips of his horns, very tip of his mask, the shoulder spike. Okay, I'm going to kind of run it down here. Again, on the edge of the blade. Give it, I know maybe it's not in focus right now, I can't tell, but I'll show you guys in just a second. That's going to kill me. Keep hitting that. Down the edge of the shield there. Just really bringing out all the details. There's so many details on this mini, guys. He's so cool. Such a cool sculpt. Yeah, I'm getting to a point where I think he's good. So, look at that. Shield looks sweet. Armor's popping. Sword's popping. All that just crazy detail on his back is fully visible. So I'm just going to paint his base black, because that's how I'm going to play with him. And I'll show you guys just the finished black base version with a good photograph. And that's it.